Joining me now is Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul. He sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and is a former presidential candidate himself. What's your reaction to this pick, sir?
You know, I'm keeping an open mind. What I've said all along is that I agree with Donald Trump that nation building hasn't made us safer. It's been very expensive and hasn't worked. Regime change hasn't worked in the Middle East. The Iraq War was a strategic failure. So I want someone to be at Secretary of State who agrees with Donald Trump on those key issues, because this is an ongoing process where people are still advocating for toppling the Assad regime, as if regime change will make things better there. So I think those questions are open, and I'm willing to find out what Tillerson has to say on those issues. And if he embraces Donald Trump's vision and worldview on that, I'd be fine with that. My main concern, though, is that his undersecretary not be John Bolton. I think Bolton has not understood the historical significance of the Iraq War. He still is an advocate for regime change and nation building. And so my hope is that he will not come forward as the undersecretary.
A lot of people are uncomfortable with Rex Tillerson because they feel like his relationship with Vladimir Putin is too close. The fact that he's done deals with him in the past. And I would say, you know, knowing the energy industry, there are a lot of bad guys he's done deals with as the head of Exxon Mobile. What question would you ask to get to the bottom of what that relationship is like? How would you prove to yourself that he's sort of not too cozy with Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think they're different positions. You know, being a CEO, your job is to further your company and to make deals with people who have natural resources around the world. Being the Secretary of State, it's about diplomacy, it's about negotiation, and it's about conversation. So the fact that he's had many conversations with world leaders would be, I think, a plus with regard to having those conversations. But I think you have to negotiate from a position of strength. So I think Donald Trump does negotiate from a position of strength, and that is important in dealing with countries like Russia that are sometimes our adversaries, often our adversaries, and that they need to understand that we will negotiate firmly and from a position of strength.
Yeah. I want to ask you, too, about something you and I have talked about before a lot in the past. You have made it clear your desire to do away with Obamacare, but you're asking your fellow Republicans to finally get the debt under control as well, saying this in an op-ed. I am taking this stand. I will not vote for any budget that doesn't have a plan to balance regardless of what is attached to it. And I'm calling on other conservatives in the Senate to take the same stand. Let's repeal Obamacare. Is it dangerous to link those two issues?
You know, as a physician, I despise Obamacare probably about as much as anybody in this country. It's been a disaster for health care. But in order to get rid of it, we have to pass a budget, and then there's something called budget reconciliation, which is a fancy word for basically we use the budget vote to then repeal Obamacare. And we can do it with a simple majority. So now it's immune to filibuster, can't be stopped. However, the debt's really important to our country. I mean, we have a $20 trillion debt. We borrow $1 million a minute. And I cannot vote for a budget that never balances. Right now, the Republicans in the Senate are contemplating putting forward a budget that will never balance. I just can't be in favor of that, even if it means repealing Obamacare, because I think we can do both. I think we can be for a budget that actually does balance and repealing Obamacare, but we shouldn't have to give up what we believe in as fiscal conservatives just to get to Obamacare.
Be very interesting to see what happens going forward. Senator, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. See you next time.
Thank you.